Okay, now that we've got our campfire looking a little, or our fire system looking a little bit better, okay, we still need to work on the renderer settings, okay, and so this is this section down here. We're going to turn off cast shadows and receive shadows because since we're not going to use the pro version, it's not making any difference whatsoever. Okay, then we're going to sit there and make our camera velocity, make sure that is 0, because what that would happen is that would, as the camera moves, it would stretch the particles, and that's going to look a little funny. Okay, now as far as the stretch particles, we want them as billboard. Okay, billboard is the technique where we take a two-dimensional item and we always have it face the camera so that it looks 3D. Okay, length and velocity. Okay, we're going to make both of those 0. They actually make no difference when I have billboard selected, so it's better to make sure they're set to 0. And we're going to make the maximum particle size 0.25. It gets values can be up to 1, and it can get very large to almost fill the screen. Okay, now still doesn't look very much. I know you're going, that doesn't look much like a fire. Okay, although we could use that maybe as a torch or something, but for this one we want real fire, so we need to add a material. To do that, what we're going to do is under the Fire Features folder, we're going to right click on it, click Create, and click Material. We're going to name that material Flame, because that's what we're actually going to do. Okay, and now what we want to make sure is on the shader drop down, right up here, we're going to drop it down. We're going to go all the way down to Particles, and we're going to sit there and choose Additive Soft. And you can play with the different types of shaders to see what looks best or not, and we'll probably discuss this a little bit later on in the course. Okay, now we're going to take a material that we've already been given called Fire 1, and we're going to drag it over here. And you notice somebody spent a lot of time probably in Photoshop creating this. Okay, and now we're going to drag that flame material onto our fire system in the hierarchy pane and watch what happens. And now it's starting to look a little bit more like fire now, isn't it? Okay. Now, for us to sit there and make it really with the campfire, we're going to make it a child of our campfire by just dragging it in. Okay. Then we're going to sit there and with the fire system checked, go over to the transform, the little cog up here, and click reset. And that's going to put it right inside. And you can already see it. That's looking pretty good right there. I'll tell you right now, I know that's a little bit low. I want a little more of that fire up, so I could play with it, but I already know I need to change Y to 0.8. I've already messed with it. Okay, and what we can do now is we'll do a quick test of it. We'll sit there and start it up, and you see there it is. Okay, and yes, I know there's 2 audio listeners. We need to get rid of our main camera. We'll do that in a second. And notice I can't get any closer, but that's not too bad for just a few minutes of work. Okay, so that's sort of some of the things you can do with the fire system. Okay, so let's get rid of that main camera so we don't get those errors. Okay, but now we're going to do smoke, and I'm not going to discuss this one as much. I'm going to sit there and go through it a little bit faster so that we can get done with this and actually see what this looks like. So we're going to add another particle system. So game object, create other particle system. We're going to name this particle system Smoke System. Okay, and again, put it someplace so you can see it in front of you as you're doing it, because it always is better to do it that way. Now what we're going to do is under the emitters, we're going to sit there and quickly, notice the emit's checked obviously, min and max size is going to be 0.8 to 2.5. Our min and max energy is going to be 8 and 10. Our emissions are going to be 10 and 15. Okay. World velocity, Y, is going to be 1.5. Random velocity, Y, is going to be 0.2. And you can see the smoke starting to change now. Emitter velocity scale is going to be, we're going to change this to 0.1. Okay. Now we're going to go down into these settings, and we want to get it from very light to very dark. Okay, and again we want no alpha on the first one, no alpha on the last one, but we're going to make this almost a black. Okay, And then we're going to do the little shift between them so that we can sit there and so I want this one to be maybe dark gray, this one a little bit lighter, this one a little bit lighter, and we want to sit there and again have it around, somewhere around 100, then somewhere around 180, 200, then this one again someplace around 100. Just, and you can mess with those later on. You can see the subtle changes in here. Okay, now that we've got that done, we can sit there and close that off. And again, we did it very quickly. We're going to make the size to grow 0.2. Okay, we're going to make our random force, and this is where we can really make the smoke look like something. It's going to be 1.2 for X, it's going to be 0.8 for Y, and 1.2 for Z. Okay, and force is going to end up being 0.1 for X and 0.1 for Z. Okay, and you see it's starting to look pretty good now. And again, no auto destruct. Now in our renderer settings, again, we want the shadows off. Okay, we're going to make sure it's on billboard again. Make sure all those the camera velocity and the length scale is 0, even though they don't make a difference. Leave the max particle size as 0.25. And now we're going to build another material. So right click, create material. We're going to call that smoke. Then we're going to sit there and again we want the same kind of particle additive soft, only this time we're going to use the smoke 1 material. Okay, and you can see it looks like smoke, and now we're going to sit there and put that on top of our smoke system. Okay, and now if we see our smoke system, you can see it's starting to look a little better. And again, we're going to place that inside the campfire. We're going to sit there and reset its location, and now we're just going to have to mess with it to see, do we have it where we want it. So I'm going to raise it up a little bit, and see now the smoke's coming from a little too high, so I'm going to drop it down just a little bit. Okay, and it's starting to look really, really good. And if we sit there and look at it for a second, okay, not bad for spending just a few minutes. So I think you get the idea of how to build this. But last but not least, we're going to actually add some sound. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to sit there and select our campfire. Okay, and then we're going to add an audio source. So that's under component, audio, and audio source. Okay, and there's our audio source right there. What we're going to do is we have some sound called fire atmosphere. We're going to drag that over onto here. Okay, now a couple of things about these items, you know, mute, bypass, play on awake means when the object is created it's going to start playing. We want it to loop because we don't want it to stop. Now you could tweak the volume and everything. Remember that volume has to be relative to everything else you have in the scene. Okay, and there are some other settings that you can change. We're not going to mess with those today. So if we have this, the nice thing about this, and you probably can't hear it in the recording, okay, is that as you get closer to the item, it gets louder, and as you back away, it gets softer. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Now, so very quickly, we were able to sit there and create a small campfire system in less than 20 minutes. Okay, now, how do we export this? Because one of the best things to do is to, well, actually, how do we export it? Well, I'm going to do that in a separate video so that you can find it later on. This ends us creating a quick little campfire, but I think you can see how this can be handy. Now, one of the nice things is that there are some fire items that come with Unity. If we go under Assets and we import a package, you will see we have and as he looks to find it, and he cannot find it, and so now I'm going to have to sit there and look at this later on and probably cut this part out. Okay, where is my, maybe it's under physics materials, because there actually comes some fire. Oh, we already pulled this in. This was particles. Okay, under particles we have fire, and there's a couple of fires, and I'm just going to drag them onto. Oh, that's not going to work that way. Let me go back to here so I can see where I'm dragging it. And we're going to drag them over here, and that's what that fire looks like. And if we drag this other one over here, that's what that fire looks like, and that one needs to be shifted over a little bit. There we go. So you can sort of see what they are, and you notice we've got an inner core and an outer core. Okay, so you can actually create multiple fires. So don't forget about these, and there's some smoke there and everything. And you can see that these other fires look very different. Okay, but what it does is it gives you some other items and other materials that you can build your own fire with. Okay, that ends this session of building a campfire. I will sit there and create another video to show you how to export this properly, because you can have some problems doing this if you do it incorrectly.